Welcome to Reading the Green. It's Tuesday, May 23rd. We have our Golf DFS preview. Kyle, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Weather is completely turned. It's full golf season. Rough week last week, but otherwise everything's looking up.
So the weather has turned in Minnesota here. Does that mean that holiday weekend coming up, Memorial Day weekend, are you playing golf?
I believe so. With listener and slash Batman Derek, Sunday at least one round of 18, I believe.
Wow. Good for you. I'm gonna play as well. I think I'm currently slated for 27 holes this weekend, which is mind-blowing these days. I'm really looking forward to it.
Get to play anywhere fun, or it's kind of the go-to tracks?
9 holes at my club with my wife, hopefully late Friday afternoon, and then a Saturday round at a public track here in the Twin Cities. Chaska Town Course has been around for a while, but I always enjoy it. You and I went and played there a couple years ago.
Yeah, there's actually quite the story from that round. Do you remember?
Not really.
So it was
Enlighten us.
It was the 4th of July, and
Yeah,
it was
like
yeah, it was around the 4th of July. It was like 100 degrees, and I had not played since I had previously played with you. That was really sad, but we had a kid in there and everything like that, and played with you at Torrey. So we had traveled back, and then in flying, I take my driver out of my actual bag and just put that in my golf case so it doesn't stick out a lot longer and risk any snag. Well, I think I was in a hurry to get out that day and grab my clubs out, but my driver was underneath my bag. We get to the course and I did not have my driver.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. You had to get a demo from the shop.
Yeah, and I actually hit it really well. For all things considered, I don't think it shot very well.
I feel like there's something with the guys that we played with that day, but I'm just drawing a blank. I think I know I came out and I blitzed the front 9 and then put it in the bag on the back 9, but there's something about
so the dudes, they were retirees and just having a grand old time and just giving each other massive loads of crap during the round. Remember? Just like, nice shot, jerk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like they were having a good time. They had some beers, even though it was 100, and yeah, it was a good round.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to get that the same this weekend, but it's Memorial Day weekend, so we'll be previewing the Memorial, right? The Memorial tournament.
Sure.
Okay, never mind. You don't find that confusing that the Memorial tournament is the week after Memorial Day, and this week you have Colonial? Blew my mind as a kid. I could never figure that out.
Well, and the one thing about Colonial is I can't get myself to call it the Charles Schwab.
Well, wasn't the Charles Schwab Challenge used to be at PGA West, which is now the Amex? It used to be. No, okay. I think it did. Or was it the career? Maybe it was the Career Builder Challenge. I'm confused. It's Colonial. We'll get to it. We'll also recap the PGA Championship. And I know Kyle, I know Jordan's not here. He might be here at some point. So listeners, if we randomly get a 3 to 4 beer deep Jordan halfway through here, just a heads up. But since he's not here, Kyle, you get to spin the wheel of mystery discussion topics because, post major, there's a bajillion storylines. We've had 48 hours to just kind of soak in the media and all the aftermath, which actually was a really fun golf tournament to watch. I know you were doing some traveling this weekend, so probably didn't take in a ton of it. So I'm curious to see your takes here, but I have 6 topics on the wheel. No, YouTubers, you're not going to see an actual wheel. We're not that sophisticated. But you give me a number 1 through 6, and I'll give you a topic that we can discuss, and we'll see how long it takes us to get through a couple of them.
All right. Well, we better get 3, 4. Well, since he's late today, I'm saying 4 to 5 beer deep, Jordan, coming in hot here, and hopefully, 10 minutes or so. So, stand by for that because it should bring some heat. Yes. So my coverage this weekend, because I was actually out of the country, was spotty. So this should be fun. Let's start with number 5.
Starting with number 5. All right. Did you see the end of the golf tournament? Like, did you see Brooks putt out and all that?
So I saw probably Brooks and crew from 6 through 15, and then like 17 and then 18 in an airport restaurant. Like I could see the TV, but I couldn't hear anything.
So you didn't see Brooks's posse. That's topic number 5 here. Brooks's posse. You didn't see the crew that was cheering him on as he walked off the 18th green?
I did see him walk off and didn't hear all the beeping and cutouts, but I did see people going up to him because I was curious who would. And yeah, I didn't know who most of those people were.
Well, nobody does. Literally, they were the guys in the tracksuits from the Florida Panthers game, whatever, a couple weeks before. And one guy was wearing the tracksuit.
Wearing the tracksuit? The tracksuit mafia?
Those guys seem, I mean, we know Brooks. Listen to No Laying Up if you want to hit like the 40 minutes on kind of Brooks. I really think they did a nice job of kind of summarizing the difficulty it is with him. But every other tour player that's won an event the last couple of months has been welcomed by their family, their wife, their girlfriend, their parents. Brooks is welcomed by his posse, wife and baby mama, nowhere to be seen. He totally like stiff arms the rules official that had helped him with the ruling on the drop that he took on 6, the dude with the long gray hair. Just totally stiff arms him when he went to give him a handshake. It was really just an incredible welcoming after he won.
Speaking of Jena, I did see somebody, I don't know, one of the social medias, Instagram.
I know you're going,
like yeah. I reached out to her and like, where wasn't he there? And she responded she was busy with a picture of her cleaning a spot in the trophy case.
In a bra.
Yeah. I didn't see that close up of the video.
But she didn't have a shirt on. Just exactly. It was for the bit. But anyways, I thought that was an incredible scene. All right, spin the wheel again.
All right, number 2.
Oh, number 2. I don't know if you're gonna like this topic or not. Block party.
I figured that was on here. I thought that might be number 1. So.
Yeah, well, I had to mix them up a little bit because you might not pick the edges. Can't get enough Michael Block. Obviously, the golf media is going to milk as much out of this as possible. I'm not going to lie. I was close to tears a couple times watching him cry on TV. Literally every question. Seems like a really grounded, authentic dude. This is my take. In watching, actually, seeing quite a bit of him on TV. You and I talk about this, like the sort of the delusional pipe dream that like aspirational golfers have. Of I'm only a couple of good swings away. I'm only a couple of good rounds away. It's really not that difficult for me to get my tour card. And while someone's working a desk job, down the road from you, he kind of is doing that. He's kind of like, granted, ridiculously lucky breaks away from having some fame, but he hit a stone cold shank on Friday that hit a tree that should have gone out of bounds and hit a tree and stayed in bounds. Ended up making double anyways, but he did that. He holes out on 15 in the final round. It just was like the number of things that went right for this guy and possibly the biggest moment of his life is now unlocking all kinds of fame, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he seems like a really cool dude. I mean, as part of it, he's just really grounded down to earth. And just reading a little bit more about him, because there was a point in time on my airplane where I couldn't watch TV because I was not in the Continental 48, so I just cruised the internet.
Sure.
That he chose early to not pursue the tour route and go the professional route because he wanted to be around, raise his kids, and not on a plane all the time, sleeping in cars, whatever it may be. But what I didn't realize, like dug into him a little bit when I saw him top the leaderboard Friday, like who the heck is this guy? It would have been, I guess, a little cooler story to me if he was this pro that, finally got his chance and then popped. But the dude's been playing on tour events every year.
His 5th PGA Championship. And he's like his fourth tournament of the year.
And he's played twice at the U.S. Open, I believe. He plays the Farmers most years. He plays the Amex most years. So he at PGA Championship last year shot 78, 73. So that's just the part of it that did come out of nowhere. The Amex, he missed the cut this year. Farmers, he missed the cut this year. That just all of a sudden, he goes from 74, 73 at the Farmers to 70, 70, 70, 71 at a really tough course. Like he said, he caught some breaks and stuff, but it's just, I guess that's the cool part of it is like, it wasn't that he hasn't had chances before. He's had lots and lots of chances. Just all of a sudden, one time it clicked.
It did, and it was cool. And honestly, and I know this was the bit he had in the press conference today with the text from Michael Jordan, but like, golf is really, there are fewer barriers in golf that this guy's not, like you just said, he's not Joe Schmo. He's not like you or I walking off the street playing in a PGA Championship. But even if you were a kid that played high school basketball that could still, throw down in your 3-on-3 league, stepping onto an NBA court, you have zero chance. And this guy stepped onto an NBA court with the big guns, and he was throwing haymakers. And golf is unique in that way. And he handled it. He handled it well. Like he, had a hole-in-one, barely celebrated. So it was pretty cool. You want to spin one more spin on the wheel?
All right, let's go number 6.
All right, number 6.
I figured those two would be on here, so now I'm really intrigued what the other ones are. So
here's what by picking number 6, this is what you passed up on. Brooks's legacy, which I think has been talked about enough. Again, if listeners, if you want to hear good chatter on that, just go listen to the No Laying Up episode this week. Number 3 was Victor's shot on 16 out of the bunker, which was ridiculous in its own right of just the break that he got. But
and that happened twice.
It happened to Corey Connors as well. Yeah. We don't have to divulge. I don't. People are saying it's like such a bad break. I don't think he should be blading a 9-iron 6 inches off the ground on the 16th hole of the final round. Like he should make sure that ball gets over the lip. So I don't. He didn't choke, but like that just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You passed up on tour versus major setups. A lot of criticism kind of coming out around, these major setups are really good and really fun to watch and really test golfers. And it really makes you just not appreciate the birdie fest that we're going to get, every other week. And it's really the gap is starting to widen quite a bit. There are very few tough tour events outside of majors. So that leaves us with Oak Hill. I know you didn't watch a lot of it. So did the course and the history and the redesign do it for you? What you did see, or was it forgettable, or what did you think of the setting?
I think so. I saw. So it's Thursday, I did not see much at all, really. Just a little bit on the background later in the day, but Friday, a couple hours in the morning, and same Saturday, and then, like I said, most of the fun around on Sunday, at least for the leaders. So, Saturday, I guess it's just crazy from a weather perspective. They basically played the event over 3 seasons, it felt like. A little bit of everything. You had the cold the start of the week, beautiful on Sunday, the rainstorm on Saturday. But yeah, it did, but at the same time, it almost felt more like a US Open to me over a PGA. And, and I guess this kind of ties into that other one, on setups, but I get they're run by different governing bodies, but do we really need 2 events of the year where, and granted, it did get to 9, which, by the way, last week, I think I said, I didn't think 5 or 6 was going to win it. But do we really need 2 events of the year where you finish even in your top 10 or maybe even top 5? I guess that would be my one thing of it, but I don't think that's anything against Oak Hill. That's completely just from a setup perspective.
It's a good point, and I think you're right, is that it does, the PGA every now and then kind of encroaches on the US Open's reputation of being hey, you shoot under par at the US Open, you win. And the PGA is starting to flirt with that a little bit. I think I enjoy I enjoy this setup. Like you got, I mean, what did Block finished at even? So he finished in 15th, and that was even. So there was only a handful of guys that were under par. That feels good. The carnage at the U.S. Open sometimes is just sometimes kind of silly, and this golf course was hard. And if you think about the U.S. Open playing 7 shots harder or whatever, like I'm just kind of like, I actually don't know if I want to see that type of bloodbath this year. So I guess we'll see at LA Country Club. I don't not really familiar with the golf course, so I don't know what we're gonna get.
Yeah, I like seeing the challenge, and it seems like most of the feedback from the players was that the course was fair. Like it was a good challenge. You weren't getting burned by hitting good shots. You got rewarded for good shots. So that's really what we have to go on. So I guess I'll take it. But one thing that's a little bit of a concern in the future, I'd say.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll run through. Well, that was good. Thank you for participating in the mystery wheel of discussion topics. Jordan missed out, but your takes were very good. RTG housekeeping, Listener League. I think I was wire to wire, and it wasn't even close. Kyle, I told you my narrative lineups were going to pay off. I went with 6 gritty Europeans. Now that's not as funny as some of my other narrative lineups, but I decided to go 6 gritty Europeans because there were a few guys like Adrian Moronk that were getting some love that I thought, hey, that would be a decent play. And so I actually started with some of the lower guys, and ended up having space for Rahm and Hovland. And Rahm didn't do anything, but Hovland certainly did. And nice to take down a major weak RTG Listener League. I was followed by King Jake and G Bentley in third.
Yeah, go ahead. Continue. I don't have anything.
All right. Well, we will continue. Model, we really spent a lot of time last week talking about how good the model had been. We had an off week this week. We'll be the first to say it. We had an off week. Really got ripped apart by the +6 cut line. You had guys like Si Woo, Ricky Fowler, Matt Fitzpatrick, all end up on the chopping block at +6. Sung Jae Im just didn't show up. Apparently, taking a plane over from Korea on Monday and showing up at a golf course that you never played at and expecting to play well was not a recipe for a success. Maybe should have seen that coming. But yeah, just kind of a tough week overall. Fortunately, I think I texted you. I was fortunate to totally fade Woodland and mostly fade Clark, and that helped a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah, I had a lot of Clark. Model from mission share standpoint, MPI standpoint, how he's been playing pointed there. So I went there. That hurt. You mentioned Ricky. It was a frustrating week for me though, because there's quite a bit I got right. I just didn't get a much right in the same lineup. There was always one misclick here or there, because I bet Justin Rose, had a lot of Justin Rose, had a lot of Cameron Smith. We had a nice Sunday. He was about the only one that did. I haven't had a sprinkle of Corey Connors. He disappeared. Xander didn't kill us. Snuck back in there late. A little Fleetwood. One or two guys brought down every lineup, and with the scoring how it was in the week, if you miscut a guy, +6, he just did not do anything for you score wise. Like
right.
For example, I had a little Harris English. He scored 14 points. Ricky scored 16 and a half. So it was really amplified by the week was really amplified by the miscuts, and it was amplified by there were some really nice scores on Sunday.
There were, yeah, Sunday scoring conditions really they were there, and guys that they didn't end up really threatening the top of the leaderboard, but 65 was out there, 66 was out there. And I too had a lot of guys that really played poorly on the weekend despite the good conditions on Sunday. And it was kind of a mess. Brooks Koepka, obviously the winner. He was 12th ranked in our model. So he was there, but I was certainly looking past him, especially at 10-1. I think we talked about him feeling like he was a good $700 to $1,000 too expensive that week. Top contributor, top expert of the week, Cody Williams, the Sizzle, fan-sided, had a bunch of good plays, and then and I should pull this up here. But then gutsiest play goes to Pat Mayo had mentioned Cameron Davis, who Cameron Davis has really just kind of turned things around lately since he had some self-proclaimed illness earlier in the season. But yeah, Cody Williams, didn't have Hovland, didn't have Koepka, but had Hovland, had Hayden Buckley, who I had a bunch of. I really liked him as a bomb play this week. Fleetwood Scott, those guys had pretty decent weeks as well. One and done. Since Jordan's not here, Kyle, the one and done was kind of weird this week. So there were 6 people that took Brooks Koepka. I took Dustin Johnson as my live play this week at PGA. I was feeling pretty good about that after round 1. But 6 people had Brooks Koepka, and another 5 had Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, and unfortunately, 2 of the ones with Brooks were our first and second place that are running away with it a bit.
It has become a 2-horse race. So we do have Jacob King and Derek Howard as front runners, both about $15 million, about $5 million clear of third place. So the rest of you are fighting for a little bit of money there in the third through 5th positions. I think, Kyle, you and I, we can just keep taking swings, huh?
Yeah, we got to get cute. We got to get different from here on out. Whatever.
I'm trying to get different. It's not paying off. I do appreciate, Kyle, though. You are minus 105 on the season and approaching the bottom with me.
Hey, I mean, I got 9th this week with Cameron Smith, right? It's just, I figure I'm just a machine of putting up between, like, actually 9th is probably one of my better finishes, but 10th and 25th place. If there was a reward for like closest to 18th, I think I get that. We got to give Jordan crap since he's not here, and he was in the money, and now he was only one of 3 people to miss the cut last week, so that really hurts him. With Matt Fitzpatrick.
Where did he go? Matt Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
All
right. Well, still a little time for some movement, but yeah, it's getting later and later every week. Before we talk about the Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial Country Club, do you have a beverage tonight, Kyle, or are you taking a break?
Taking a break. Just some water here. Travels. There's a little illness going around our house, so yeah, a week off. What do you got? Did I see a nooner over there?
This is a Passionfruit High Noon. Just out my wife and I were out to dinner tonight, so I had actually had a Drecker Ectogasm, followed by a modest Slow It Up, photo aged Pilsner, and so coasting into the evening tonight with a High Noon.
Fair enough. It's a nice summery drink.
All right. Well, the Charles Schwab Challenge, aka the Colonial, Fort Worth, Texas. We're back to a normal tour stop. Although I think the field, this is not an elevated event, but this field is pretty strong. I think you have a number of guys here that are holding some commitments, and certainly a post-major event squeezed in between the Memorial, where you're going to have another elevated event. You're going to get a lot of good players, guys like Scotty Scheffler playing 3 weeks in a row here. Last year, Sam Burns won in a playoff over Scotty Scheffler. And, before we get into kind of what this course is, how does the Dallas-Fort Worth area get 2 tour events in 3 weeks? And I just kind of blanked that this is always the case. It goes Dallas, PGA, Cologne, Fort Worth, just every season, I guess.
I think it's part of the reason the PGA was even in Oklahoma last year, because I remember we talked about that from a travel perspective. But hey, as we've talked about repeatedly, a lot of tour players live in the Dallas area, so
they do. So we're here in Fort Worth. So Kyle, can you talk to me a little bit about what you get at Colonial Country Club?
Yeah, it's gonna be quite a bit different than what we saw last week. Stealing some stats from Ron at Bedford's PGA Splits 101 on Twitter. That just he framed it a little bit of a unique way, and he's one of our experts who followed. So I wanted to cite him. So only 56% of drives are hit under 280, and that's because it's tree line, parkland golf, positional golf. So you're not going to see many guys just bombing it this week. A lot of less than driver off the tee. It's a tough green and regulation course with one of the lowest good drive rates on tour at only 77%. Unpredictable rough, but not super deep at the same time. Easiest greenside and bunkers, and then a fairly easy course from a putting perspective, but we've seen a lot of winners here in the past really have spike putting weeks. So I think it's something you want to make sure you're taking into account in the model, especially with the 100% Bermuda greens. Anything to add to that, Mike?
No, I've heard just some interesting course comps that would fit. That would be like Harbor Town, right? Talk about positional golf, and I know that's Pete Dye. This is Perry Maxwell, but positional golf, you need to be on the right side of the fairway off the tee, and sometimes being in the rough on the right side of the hole is better than being in the fairway. You're not just going to be able to bomb your driver around this golf course, and so I've heard a number of experts kind of leaning away from bombers this week and focusing more on guys that can get it in position and then putt well. So I'm curious if our model would align that way.
Yeah, I think you'll see some of that, especially with the guys that are leading the way so far. Don't, speaking to the Harbor Town comp, it wouldn't surprise anyone. I don't think that's 48% mention share so far is Jordan Spieth. He's at 9,900 this week. Some great course history here that I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more later. The next one is a little bit more of a surprise, though. A guy we've seen pop a little bit this year, but doesn't exactly have the course history here. Eric Cole is also at 47% mention share at this point, 72 on the salary. Right behind him, there's two more coming at 42%. Scotty Tuhati, Scheffler this week, which I think is going to be a hammer play for a lot of people. He is perfect on the MPI at this point in time. But then also Brendan Todd's garnering 42% mention share. And then number 5 for us right now would be 35% mention share. Andrew Putnam, also at 7,100. So some value savings guys coming in towards the top of the model at this point. I'm willing to bet that Spieth and Scheffler end up 1-2 from a mention share perspective by the end of the day tomorrow, though.
That's probably right. I think there's a lot of familiarity. For those guys just being natives of the area. Scotty obviously has been playing literally invincible golf for the last 18 months. And so, I think it's one of those situations where it's like, if he's going to miss a cut, I'm going to get burned. And that's just the way it is, because you can't, there's nothing in the data that's going to tell you to fade Scotty at any point. He's matchup proof. Jordan Spieth is in a different situation. Like he's been notably hurt. He made the cut last week. I think he made the cut on the number. It was dicey for a while. Didn't really play all that great on the weekend. But you put a guy like that in a familiar spot, he could probably do anything. So I agree. Those guys are going to end up having the most love. I have a couple of thoughts, Kyle. You want me to start with just there's kind of 3 guys that I had focused on that were near the top of the model here, and I'm curious what you think. So kind of 3 different price points, but all up there above 29% of the moment. So if I were to look at Tommy Fleetwood, I'm curious where his ownership's going to land, because Tommy Fleetwood has been almost perfect. Let's throw the match play out. Since we'll go back to the Genesis. He's made every cut that he's played since he missed the cut at the Phoenix Open. So he's made every cut going back to the Genesis. He lost strokes putting at the Arnold Palmer, and he lost a little bit at the Masters around the green. Other than that, he has been way positive in every phase, in every event that he has played. He hits the ball, he's gaining in distance, and hits the ball very accurate off the tee. I don't know if people are going to look past him at the bottom of the 9K range or not. I don't know if he'll be super high owned. That's what I'm going to try to figure out. But Tommy Fleetwood at 9,200 feels like a really good price for a guy that has a very high floor at this time. The other guy that I think that has really great course history here and has been playing pretty well as of late is Brendan Todd. And I like his price at 7,800. But Brendan Todd, like losing off the tee a little bit, but very, very accurate. Not one of the longest hitters on tour. That's okay because I don't need a lot of distance on this course. Great at putting, great around the green. I like Brendan Todd at 7,800. The guy that's kind of like got me confused a little bit is Denny McCarthy at 8,700. A guy that's had some nice finishes lately, but a little iffy on accuracy, a little iffy on approach. A great putter that could certainly carry him this week, but I would go Todd and Fleetwood over McCarthy, and someone else in the 8K range. So that's kind of where I'm leaning at the top right now.
Yeah, I think Fleetwood, he certainly has a good underlying stats, and I think he's starting to get quite a bit of steam because of that. But I also could see him being someone that gets talked up a lot Monday, Tuesday, and then people don't ultimately make the click just because like you said, the people around him. And just if you start with Scotty, it's really hard to get Fleetwood in as your second, especially you want to look at Rose or Spieth or or even like a Ricky 89 or Sungjae at 95. I will say right now, Fantasy National does have him as the second highest owned on the slate behind Scotty, but I kind of struggle to see that because I mean, looking right now, the top five they have is Scotty, Fleetwood, Rose, Spieth, Morikawa, Ricky. So that's five guys all over 89. There's going to be someone in the low eights or the upper sevens that ends up a little steam to get up there. So we'll see. But you mentioned like he's great from the par four distances we're looking at. He avoids bogeys, good proximity buckets. Mayo's on him. Spencer at Rotoballer's on him. So I think there's a lot of reasons to look at Fleetwood this week too. For my three guys, I'm going to highlight. I'm going to start with Spieth just because I wanted to dig in a little bit more there on the stats. In this field, he's first in strokes gained for par fours for 400 to 450 yards, which is most of the distances we're looking at this week. He's second in proximity in 125 and 150. Just based on where your drives are going to land on most sides of distance of holes, you're going to have that yardage bucket a lot. And then just ridiculous course history here. 2013 to 2022, he is first. He has 3 seconds. He only has 2 non-top 10s, a 14th and a 32nd in 2018. So just crazy course history. Hogberg over at RotoWire's on him, and at Fantasy Labs as well. 9,900. Especially those cash style lineups. I think that's going to be tough for me to stay away. Did want to also talk about Andrew Putnam because I think that's what maybe surprise people a little bit that he's getting some love. 7,100 in the salary we talked about. The MPI does not love him so far, but the experts that are on him, Brandon Gudula over at Number Fire, RotoWire, he had a really good run last year, and that was really driven by the putter. He was just lights out with the putter in 2022. And then this year, we haven't seen that as much, but the tee to green play has been there. But he lost putting strokes to the field and 5 of the last 6 times out. But 2 events ago, start in Mexico, had a decent putting week. Last week, only lost slightly to the field in putting. So I think that's what people are kind of seeing there is hopefully the putter's coming around, putter's coming back, the rest of the game's there, and it should set up nicely for him just from an overall stats perspective and a setup perspective. So I think that's why people are starting to go look. So I think I will as well. And then somebody, again, I feel like we talked about last year, but haven't played much this year is Christian Bezuidenhout. He is 7,700 this week, getting some love at 24% mention share. Ulrich at DK Nation is going there, but he's purely a putter and proximity guy. Off the tee here doesn't hurt as much, and brings some salary. So I'm intrigued by old Seabass this week as well.
When we don't compare notes on who we're going to talk about, you might have had a lot of love for Denny McCarthy this week, and I totally trash him. Had a lot of love for Denny McCarthy this week, and I totally trash him. It would have been interesting to see you try to defend Denny McCarthy.
No, I think Denny McCarthy might come up a little bit later in our conversation. I will be playing. Here you go. I will be playing at least one single entry lineup going with a skill stack of team just putting. Pure putters. Seabass, Denny, Putnam. Yeah.
So the guy that I wanted to make sure we did get on too is the other guy at the top of the model right now as of Tuesday night is Eric Cole. And Eric Cole, we talked about in the last few weeks now because he, so I maybe Gaiman said this, has a nose for the top of the leaderboard, right? He's a guy that's played a lot of tournament golf. He's having a nice season. I can't even call him a late bloomer because I don't know if this is him blooming or this is just a flash in the pan. But when you got a guy that's like been around a lot and kind of knows how to grind it out, think of someone like a Zach Johnson. That's kind of what he reminds me of. But his short game's not as good, and his driving accuracy actually is below average pretty much every event, which really surprises me, but is below average almost every event this season. And so I struggle to think that if that's the case, volatile putter, inaccurate off the tee doesn't feel like a recipe for success. He has been stellar on approach. I just don't know if that's enough on a course that demands more off the tee and around the green versus getting away with some of that and making up for it with great iron play. So I don't know that I'm going to be there on Cole this week, just given the course fit. Form, yes. Course fit, not sure.
Yeah, I think some of the thought process there was proximity. The around the green stuff won't matter as much, but I'm with you. The off the tee does concern me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I would land on Eric Cole yet. Before we move on, one other thing to circle back on my team pure putters. I was just curious, so I looked at the last 100 rounds. So not guys that are spiking or struggling lately, but just purely, hey, who can roll the rock over time? You can nearly you miss this lineup by $100 to play the best 6 pure putters in this field over the last 100 rounds. That'd be Matt McNeely, Denny McCarthy, Brendan Todd, Sam Burns, Max Homa, and Sam Brighter. So you got the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 build that fits a lot of narratives there, but you're $100 short.
Who's the guy you throw out? Who's the guy you throw out to trade down for a couple $100?
Well, you could go. There's not it's not like you can go to the 6th guy would be Alex Noren at 6,800. So there's not. I mean, you wouldn't want to go off Mav for there. So I guess what you'd probably do is take Sam Ryder out and go to Ben Taylor, who's 10th, and then you're leaving $300 on the table. So give yourself a little bit better chance of being unique.
That's a fun lineup. I don't know. There's some folks that like Max Homa as a pivot play this week. If you're looking for someone in the 10K range, our model has him ranked as the second highest player in the power index. That's partly because Mike McClure is out of this week, but interesting, Kyle. That'd be a fun skill sack to roll out there. Do you want to flip down to tiers?
Yeah, but I'm going to throw it back to you to talk about this week, Mike. So go for it.
Oh, all right. Yeah. All right. On the spot. Well, the first time that I'm looking at the tiers list, I know sometimes that you like to kind of look at a tier that you have to kind of sort out. I'm going to go right down to tier 6. I'm going to write down a tier 6. And the reason I'm going to tier 6, now, first of all, Ches Reavie has actually played some pretty good golf lately. He's popped a little bit. I think he has some decent course history at the Colonial. Had a nice week last week. The problem with tier 6 is that you have to decide whether or not you're going to click Michael Block. Are you going to click Michael Block in tier 6 over, I don't know, our model, Nods, Ches Reavie, Nate Lashley, Sam? I actually really like Sam Stevens this week, Fort Worth guy. playing in front of a home crowd. He stands to do a lot better at 7,100 than Tom Hoagie at 8,500, who flames out every time he steps foot in Fort Worth. And before we admit Jordan into this conversation, let's round this out though. Kyle, why is Michael Block in tier 6 and or $6,900 this week? Is DK just taking advantage of people?
Yeah, when I scrolled down looking at tier 6 when you're talking, laughing if you're watching the feed because I saw Michael Block there. So if you want to get away from some ownership, don't click on Michael Block, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Let's see what Jordan thinks. Let's pull him in here. Jordan, welcome.
Hey guys.
Oh man, from the are you still at the club?
No, I'm driving home.
All right, great. Well, you're jumping right into the tier section. Jordan, are you clicking Michael Block in tier 6?
No chance.
Are you surprised that he's in tier 6?
Yeah, what's the percent ownership on him going to be this week?
Something.
50? People are going to be all in. And he's going to go out and shoot 80-80.
Well, I'm guessing he'll come out in quite a bit higher than what Fantasy National now says, because that's more experts usually, right? But they only have him as a 1.1% calculated ownership in normal contests, but it's going to be much higher in tiers.
I think what Gaiman said was, let's let him be 10% and I guess miss the cut. Like, if it's just going to eat up some ownership, sure. What are we doing? Jordan, how'd you play?
Good. I shot a 40 with a 7. Yeah, I was 5 yards off on a par 4, 5 yards off the green, and then I bladed it over the green out of bounds. Yeah, it was even like fluffy in the rough, perfect, and I still managed to totally fuck it up.
Was this the dog leg there on the front 9?
Yeah, to the left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see exactly what you did. All right.
Yeah, smashed it. Just missed the bunker. Perfect location. And then I totally shit my pants. But I still shot a 40 with a 7. So it was
good for you. Your game is in peak Jordan form right now, it seems like.
I'm feeling it. I did miss one easy birdie putt. It lipped out. Otherwise, I even putted well, Mike, which is not my normal game.
No. Kyle, I guess that takes us to the name game. You have honors this week as you brought up the basement. I told you guys that I was taking Team Bryson because I thought that this was gonna be what I called Oakmont, but what I meant was Wingfoot all over again, and it was. And so I take out when I'm still, Kyle, you and I are still 4 wins behind Jordan. So starts with the first one. And so you get the honors of rolling out the game this week.
It's going to be fun since Jordan probably doesn't even know who's in the field who we're talking about here.
What tournament is it? Is this the Schwab?
It's Memorial Day weekend. So what tournament do you think it is?
Probably the Colonial.
Yeah, you're right. It is the Colonial. It's not the Memorial.
I was not catching where Mike was throwing that out earlier. I was confused. All right, so a little different this week. I looked at the betting board, and I got a group of names of guys that are 80-1 in DraftKings, and a group of guys that are 180-1 in DraftKings. So you get to pick one guy from the 80 pool. You get to pick one guy from the 180 pool, and that's your team. So I got 8 guys you get to listen or pick from. So listen closely. And
hold on, Kyle, is this a snake draft or is this, a normal draft?
Let's go. Yeah, let's snake it.
Oh, okay. All
right. And so what's the draft order, Kyle?
We'll go me, Jordan, listeners, Mike.
Okay.
And then back.
All right.
So your pool of 80-1 guys and just to make it easy, I'll say the 80s and ones first. It's Tom Hoagie, Alex Smalley, Andrew Putnam, who we've talked about, Bo Hostler, Emiliano Gio, Eric Cole, who's getting some love, Hayden Buckley, and old Patrick Rogers.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of choices there, Kyle.
It is. Well, so there's 8 guys in each. Wanted to give you plenty of options. So I think
I only wrote down 6. So
I think it's a pretty unique pool of names because you have guys that are getting some steam. Andrew Putnam, Eric Cole. You have guys that played a lot better this year, and well, at points of this year, but who knows what you're going to get with them. Tom Hoagie. And then a couple of guys that have just been consistent lately. Alex Smalley, Bo Hostler, and Hayden Buckley is popped a little bit. Patrick Rogers had a couple nice weeks. So there, I try to give you some of the names twice. And then Grio is the other one I didn't re-say. So anyway, I think I've sold myself on it. I'm going to go with Andrew Putnam.
All right, Jordan, you have Hoagie, Smalley, Grio, Cole, Buckley, Hostler, Rogers.
My first gut was B.O. Bo, but I think I'm gonna go Eric Cole. He's been playing well.
Huh. I take it Kyle Jordan didn't listen to the Eric Cole breakdown 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, was it bad? Was it bad?
No, it was great. We love Eric Cole this week.
He's getting a lot of mentions.
He's at the top of the model, Jordan.
Oh, I'm in.
You know what, Kyle? This is the first. Oh no, I don't get to pick. The listeners get to pick. So how are you gonna do that? You guys pick for the listeners.
Well, I think the listeners. One of our listeners likes to use the Pat Mayo phrase for Hayden Buckley. You know what that is, Jordan?
I do not.
Hayden Buck likes to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So let's just go with that for the listeners.
All right, good. That leaves me with probably the only place that I'm going to take Tom Hoagie this week is in the main game. All right, let's run it back then, Kyle. What are the 180 to 1 guys?
180 to 1. Adam Schenk, Carson Young, who by the way just destroyed a U.S. Open qualifying field, shot like the course record.
62-63. I mean. That's the thing. Did you see? I don't know if you saw the Monday Q Info article about the qualifier in Dallas that was just absolutely stacked. Like Sergio was in the field.
Yeah, there was a lot of good names in there.
Yeah, I didn't go. I should have gone and looked at the results because I don't understand if you're just like a kid that just squeezed it in through local qualifying. You go up and Carson Young shoots 62-63. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah,
out of my element.
There was one random name I think made it through, but otherwise it was a lot of the guys you would expected. Right. Including Mike, one of the guys you just got in your card polls last week. But anyway, so you have Adam Schenk, Carson Young, Danny Willett, Dylan Wu, Garrick Higo, Lee Hodges, Mark Hubbard, and this blew my mind. I know he's been playing shitty, but geez, Billy Horschel. 180 to 1. So, Mike, it's back to you.
All right. Well, I get to pick. I get to go back. Man, well, I guess, how do you not take a guy that just shot 20 under in 36 holes? So I'm going to go back with Carson Young.
I think that's the pick there.
Listeners, Kyle, you do the honors.
Jordan, should we give the listeners Garrick Higo, Adam Schenk, or Dylan Wu?
D Wu.
Okay. Now, Jordan, you get to pick. You're left with Schenk, Willett, Higo, Hodges, Hubbard, Horschel.
Let's go with Mr. Schenk.
All right. Great play. Great golf name. Incredible. Yep. Kyle, final pick.
I'm gonna go Billy. He's not been playing well, but he's gonna get her back on the tracks at some point here, right? Maybe that's
What's his salary this week?
That's a good question.
5,900.
He's still 7,400. Since let's go back to since Valentine's Day, he's made 2 cuts At Honda, he got 42nd. The Masters, he got 52nd. And he's missed the cut 5 times, not including the match play. That's he had the match play in there as well. But he has not. He has one top 10 at the CJ Cup since his win at the Memorial last year.
Well, Kyle, probably a good transition into the question, are you betting on the Colonial this week? Because if you are, feels like Billy's got to be a prop play or some sort, right? At 180-1, you could probably get decent value for him at top 40 even.
Maybe I'll have to look into top 40 parlay with some of these guys we looked at. No, but I think everyone else on my card, Mike, we've talked about today. So structured it a little differently this week. I really wanted to find a way to take Scotty, but unless I was going to throw all 15 units on him and figure out a way to parlay with something else I like this week, I wasn't going to go there at 4-1. That's just not fun. So no. I did go closer to the top of the board than I ever usually do. Jordan Spieth at 14. Did go 2 units on that to win, 2 units top 10, and then 2 units first round leader. And then Tommy Fleetwood at 28-1, Denny at 45-1, and Seabass at 70. As always with those other guys, top 20 and first round leader. Overall,
good.
I'm due for a win. I've gotten 2 outrights this year, but man, last year I was sitting first round leaders about every other week. I haven't had those come true as much. So we're due. One of those guys. Seabass, let's go. 71.
I'm pulling for you. All right. Well, Jordan, I don't know if you got it. New segment, the more you know, or now you know, I should say. You got any good nuggets for us? Just what's in your mind?
Good question. I really should have looked at that agenda, huh?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just making this up. You were just full of great nuggets last week of stuff all over the place. So I thought maybe you came across a good tidbit
no, I have
your day-to-day.
I did not. Rachel's out of town. Nanny's out of town. It's been a busy couple of days.
I understand. Did you watch the PGA Championship?
Yeah, I got a good hour of it or so in.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
Good. No, you missed some. Well, we'll catch up on it. Don't worry. Are you playing golf? Last question. Are you playing golf this weekend?
No.
No.
I'm gonna spend a lot of time at the pool. Does that count?
Yeah, it's pools open up around a lot of the state here Memorial Day weekend, so I'm looking forward to that as well. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy watching the Colonial. Otherwise, check out Reading the Green content on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS and our new podcast episodes that drop on our YouTube channel, Reading the Green, every Wednesday morning, as well as every major podcast platform. We'll be back in a week to talk about the results from the Colonial and talk about the Memorial Golf Tournament. See ya.